To build an aesthetic physique, you basically need two things. You just need to develop the right muscles, train the right muscles, and to be lean, right? So you need to be as lean as possible and train the right muscles. The problem comes in when you realize that it takes like fucking years to develop the right muscles to train the 7 aesthetic muscles, which are basically the muscles you need to train to build an aesthetic physique. It takes years to actually just put on a good amount of muscle mass on those specific muscles. But to be lean, you basically need like 3 months, right? 3 months of really trying and you can be lean, shredded, right? So I'll give you an example. If you've been training for like half a year, right? 6-7 months, right? No pun intended. If you've been training for like half a year, right? You basically have a decent amount of muscle mass. If you've trained the 7 aesthetic muscles, that is, right? If you've trained like neck, upper traps, lateral delts, upper chest, biceps, abs, obliques, and lats, right? If you've trained those specific muscles for at least half a year or like 7 months, right? You have a decent amount of muscle mass on those specific muscles, right? And if you cut down to like sub 10% body fat, so I'm talking lean as fuck, right? You're going to be super aesthetic compared to someone who's trained for like 2 years straight, right? They've trained these muscles, but they're still like 18% body fat, right? So like they barely have visible abs, but they have like a decent amount of muscle mass, like they have times 4 the amount of muscle mass you have, right? You are still going to look more aesthetic than they do because you just like fucking lean and shredded, right? Like in everyone's mind, like an aesthetic physique is just like nice abs, right? In everyone's mind, when they really think about it, an aesthetic physique is someone who's just got nice chiseled abs, right? Now, I know this exact like scenario because that was me. Like when I started training, I was skinny as fuck, right? Like 154 pounds, like underweight, medically underweight. Like I looked like I was malnourished, right? I was skinny as fuck. I started training, I trained for 7 months. I put on 16 pounds to be specific, right? So like, I don't know how much that is in kilos, but I put on 16 pounds, right? After I put on 16 pounds, I was 9.1% body fat, right? So after 7 months, I put on 16 pounds and I was 9.1% body fat. This is the leanest I've been in my life, right? The leanest I've been in my life, like fucking chiseled abs, right? Shadows under my delts, right? Like just fucking lean as fuck. And I would even go as far to say this is the most aesthetic I've been, right? Now I've been training for a total of like 17 months, right? So like I have a lot more muscle mass. But I look back when I was 9% body fat and I was just aesthetic as fuck. I'll put up a picture somewhere, yeah. But I was just aesthetic as fuck, right? Now I went on to do a bulk, right? So this is where it gets interesting because now I have like the perfect examples and perfect timelines where it's like I've just basically done the perfect thing for me to really give you the information that I need to give you in this video, right? So I went on to do a bulk for 8 months, right? I did a bulk for 8 months and I put on 30 pounds, right? I put on like 30 pounds, right? Now I was like chubby, like kind of 14% body fat, right? Kind of chubby, barely visible abs or whatever, right? Pretty nice physique still, right? But I wasn't lean, right? I wasn't lean at all. When you take that physique, which has like a lot more muscle mass, right? Because on a bulk, you're eating like a fuck ton of carbs, and I could basically max out on my lifts and just be able to progressively overload every week. That way, I was maximizing on the amount of muscle mass I could build every single week, right? So like I had put on a lot more muscle mass than I did when I was lean, right? But the only problem is I had put on body fat. So now when you look at that physique after my bulk and you look at the physique after the 7 months, where like I'd literally just trained for 7 months only, I'd put on 16 pounds in this first instance, right? In this first instance, I put on 16 pounds because like I was 9% body fat. So like all the mass that I gained was basically lean muscle, right? You look at those two physiques, you can easily tell me that, you know what? In the first instance, after just 7 months of training, I was more aesthetic, which is like, it's weird because you'd imagine like after like 13 months, is it? 7 plus 8, no, that's not 13. 15 months. After 15 months of training, right? Like 15 months of putting on muscle mass, you'd easily imagine that I would have been more aesthetic, right? Because I have a lot more muscle mass at this point. I've trained for 15 months. I have a lot more muscle mass, more than times 2 the muscle mass I had but I was less aesthetic just because, like, in everyone's mind and just really realistically, all that matters is just that you're lean and aesthetic. Now, this is good news for you because I can give you one more instance, right? When I first ever started training, my one goal was to maximize on just female attraction. And in my mind, female attraction, like female attention, girls, what they really want is someone who's just got like nice lean abs, right? Who's kind of just lean and aesthetic, right? And which is still the case, right? So when I first started training, in my first 3 months, I just focused like 90% of my attention on, actually not even 90, let's just say 100% of my attention on the 7 aesthetic muscles. I trained them as hard as I could, specifically abs. I trained abs more than anything. I trained abs for like an hour and a half. I trained abs for like an hour and a half for like 3 days a week, right? Just fucking grinding them out, right? And I'll put up a picture of like my physique after 3 months. When you see my physique after just 90 days of training from where I started, right? Most of you will look at this and think, you know what? That's kind of the physique that I want. I just want to be like lean and aesthetic. I don't want to be like these guys who are just like massive muscle mass, but they're kind of chubby. I just want to be like lean, nice six pack, and be able to take shirtless pictures, right? And this is what I failed to realize when I did my bulk, right? When I did my real bulk, because at first I was doing a lean bulk where I just basically put on lean muscle. But the 8 months where I was bulking, I didn't realize, you know what? It's less important that I just put on a fuck ton of muscle mass and a lot of body fat. It's less important for me to do that. It's just more important that I put on the muscle mass slowly, but I maintain being lean, right? Because for purely being aesthetic, right? Purely for aesthetic purposes, right? Because you could also give the argument that, you know what, when you're bigger and you're like because I was like 198, 200 pounds at this point. When I'm like 200 pounds, you know, you get more respect from men because you just take up more space, you're bigger, you're more confident, whatever. You could bring up that argument, yes. But purely just for attractive purposes, to be just as aesthetic as you can and to be as attractive as you can to girls, being aesthetic is just basically the answer. So now, I've been cutting for like 3 months, right? So after the bulk, I'm not cutting. I've been cutting not 3 months, more like 80 days, I think it is. I've been cutting for like 80 days, right? Just shredding down. Now I'm back to like having a nice aesthetic physique. I'm down like, what is it? Like a fuck ton of weight in the in the time I've been cutting, right? So now I'm back to being like just lean and aesthetic. And now it's like it's blatantly obvious that in just these 3 months of cutting, right, my physique is like double. It's literally like double as aesthetic as it was just 3 months ago. Just because I'm just a lot leaner. It's like just being leaner just amplifies your physique so much, right? And this should be good news for you because, as I said, building muscle takes years, right? We know this. I've done it exceptionally quick, right? If I show you the fucking picture of when I started and you look at my physique now, like now it's just like I have a lot more muscle mass. Let me move back some more. I have a lot more muscle mass. You can see my abs whilst I'm sitting. It's like it's good, right? It's look at that. It's chilling, right? And just over a year of training, right? And especially if you look at when I started, I was skinny as fuck, right? So it's like now it's like, okay, sure, I've made exceptionally quick progress, right? Most people don't make this much not most people. I would go as far as to say like 99% of people won't make as fast progress as I made, right? But back to the real thing is that it's gonna take years to put on muscle mass, right? But it will take just like a few months to just be lean as fuck, right? And this will also just maximize just how attractive and aesthetic you are, right? So it's better now. This is the overall big point. It's better to be lean. What is lean? Probably sub 10% body fat, right? I was 9% body fat, and I think this is the leanest I've been and the most aesthetic I've been, right? So I would even go as far as to say sub 10% body fat, 9% body fat, where it's like your abs, like the shadows under your abs when you stand under the sun, you just fucking chiseled as fuck, right? That's like the leanness that I would say. What's like the ideal muscle mass that I would say if you've trained for anything like half a year, give or take, right? That you've probably put on a good amount of muscle mass. If you've trained those 7 aesthetic muscles given, right, you've probably put on a good amount of muscle mass, and it's good for you to just be lean and lean bulk at that point. So lean bulk is what I did in the first 7 months, where I'm basically just putting on lean muscle but staying lean at the same time, right? So I'm just putting on lean muscle slowly over time, right? And to lean bulk, you basically just copy the same diet as I was on when I did it, which was like the carnivore diet, which is you basically eat mostly lean protein throughout, and you eat carbs before and after the gym, right? I've actually made a really good video of like the diet that I'm on right now during my cut of like carb maxing. It's somewhere on this channel. I think it's titled like, what did I title it? What the fuck is it? How to build muscle as like the diet I'm on to build muscle as fast as possible, some shit like that. I think I titled it something like that, but you can find it somewhere on this channel. I explain exactly the diet, the times to take, the meals, like the type of meals to take, the carbs, whatever. I explain everything right in that video, so you can just watch that if you want to know like the diet I was on right now when I'm cutting, which basically just maximizes again the amount of muscle mass I can build, and also helps me just get lean and maximize my progress in the gym, whatever. Right, it's basically an improvement of the diet I was on when I was doing my first lean bulk in the first 7 months, right? So it's like an improved version of that, so you can check that out if you want. It's on this channel, right? So that's basically the big point, right? It's going to take you years to build muscle mass, so it's just better you just like cut down, be lean as fuck, and that way you can just be aesthetic and you can just lean bulk all the way through, right? Don't make the mistake I did. I wouldn't call it a mistake because I still think it was very valuable for me to do a bulk, but at the point where I was, right, after training for like 7 months, I didn't need to do like a huge bulk. If anything, if I was going to bulk, right, I should have done it just from the get-go. When I was still skinny as fuck, I should have just done a bulk for like half a year, right? So I do a bulk for like 7-8 months. And if I do a bulk for 8 months, I'll put on like 30 pounds of mass. And when I put on 30 pounds of mass, I can just shred down and never have to like really bulk again, right? Because I've put on like a decent amount of muscle mass, where if I get lean, now it just looks fine. It looks nice and aesthetic, right? So if you've been going to the gym, right, especially if you've gone for like a year plus, if you've gone for a year plus, right, you're going to get so much better results if you just get lean as fuck than you would if you continue to try and put on muscle mass for the next few years and then try to then cut down after like 3 years. It's like, that's not very ideal for you, like right now. Just like maximize on your enjoyment of life right now, as I always say, right? So that's basically the big point. It's like what the fuck am I saying? Like the YouTube video and subscribe to the YouTube channel.